Hello, welcome to the mid-year book freakout tag. So I just want to preface this with two things. It is very hot in here, but I can't open the window because of hay fever. And linked to hay fever, everything is not feeling great. Allergies, making everything there. And alongside that, I have a rash on my feet, which is currently burning. And I'm trying not to think about it too much. I'm trying not to scratch it, but like, that's a lot of my brain space right now. I've just been looking at the last mid-year book freakout tag that I did last year, and it looks so put together, my room's so tidy, and then we have this. But this is post third year Amy. So welcome to the mid-year book freakout tag. If you guys don't know how this works, basically halfway through the year you go through what you have read and talk about your goals for the rest of the year, talk about what you've read this year, that kind of thing. Let me just pull up my reading spreadsheet for this year. Yes, I am one of those people. And we have the questions. So I've looked at these questions, but I haven't thought about my answers in advance, so this is going to be off the cuff, so bear with me. So the first question is, how much have you read? So let's see, I have read 20 books and listened to 8 audiobooks. That's more than I thought, to be completely honest. So yeah, it depends on if you count audiobooks. I just like to keep them as like a separate thing. I count them in my reading goal, but I sort of say that it's a separate thing. So yes, I've listened to 8 audiobooks, which is 63 hours of listening, and I have read 20 books or 2,802 pages. What have I been reading? An excellent question. Now, I don't have any of these books with me because my university bookshelf is very limited. So as soon as I finish a book, it goes in my suitcase in my cupboard waiting to go home whenever I go home to take them home, so that I can make some more space on my bookshelf. So I'm just going to show pictures. But last night I finished And Another Thing by Ian Colfer, which is the 6th book in the Hitchhiker's Guide trilogy. If you don't know, basically the first 3 books in the Hitchhiker's Guide trilogy are by Douglas Adams, the rest aren't, so it's still called a trilogy even though there's 6 books in it. I finished that last night and very much enjoyed it. Of course I did. You guys know how much I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I am partway through reading Severed, which I do have. I'm 50 pages into reading Severed. I actually started this a while ago, but it was while I was still doing my dissertation. And I was like, do you know what? I don't have room for like non-fiction books about like dead bodies right now, because that's like what my dissertation is on. And I was like, you know what? This isn't the best time for reading this. So I put it down, read the Hitchhiker's Guide book, and now I finished it. So I'm going to come back to this. So I'm 50 pages in. This is by Francis Lawson. It says A History of Heads Lost and Heads Found. And it is, yeah, just an account of heads. Exactly what it sounds like. Best sequel I've read this year? I'm not sure. Let's look at what I've read. So I've only actually read 3 books in a series this year that weren't the first book in a series, and that is The Toll by Neil Shusterman, The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan, and Another Thing by Ian Colfer. All of those 3 being the last book in the series, and none of them being a duology. So it depends on if you count that as like a sequel, so it's not like the last, like the second book. But out of those, I'm not going to give it to And Another Thing. How much I love the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I don't want to be predictable. I'm going to give it to The Toll by Neil Shusterman. The Scythe series is so good. I can't believe it's taken me this long to read it. I am, as you guys know, into like sort of the culture surrounding death. I think it's really interesting. So this book series was like, for me, it was so good. The last book tied stuff up perfectly. It was excellent. Of course, And Another Thing gets points for being the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Exactly my kind of vibe. Really funny, but like really clever. This one's quite thought-provoking as well. Like, definitely great. And to be honest, The Last Olympian was also good. If I've reached the last book in a series, I probably really enjoyed it. Of course, the Percy Jackson series is excellent. Don't need to tell you that. They are renowned enough as they are. But I think, to give one answer, I'm going to give it to The Toll, but honestly all 3 of those were great. A new release that I haven't read yet, but I want to. So this one, I don't really read new releases. I'm going to give this one to The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green, but I'm not necessarily waiting for it to come out. I tend to get all of my books like December, January sort of time, and then read them throughout the year. Tend to not be one of those people who's like, book comes out, need to read it. I tend to read series months, years after they come out. So yes, The Anthropocene Reviewed is a new book that's just come out that I definitely want to read, but it's not like, I'm not like, let's go out and get it now. Similar to that question is, what is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year? I don't have any releases that I'm anticipating. Again, not really my thing. I don't really anticipate releases. I read what I want to read. I have a bookshelf full at the moment, so that's what I'm concerned about at the moment, the ones that I have on my shelf. Number 7, biggest disappointment of the year. I don't think there has been any disappointments this year. Oh, yes, that's one. So, the biggest disappointment of the year I'm going to put to Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. I've heard good things, I've heard bad things. I own a physical copy of the book. I picked it up in a charity shop, it was really cheap. I think I got it free. It was one of those where I like buy one get one free things. Anyway, I had a copy of it on my shelf for ages and I just didn't want to read it because I'd heard mixed things and I just don't want to waste my time on a book that I'm not sure I'm going to like. But then it came up as an audiobook on the app that I use. So I was like, yes, audiobook, perfect. I can listen to it much faster. So if I don't like it, it's not the end of the world. So I listened to the audiobook and it was just so obviously written by a man. It's the best way I can describe it. Every single female character in it was just the worst. And the main character I just didn't like, and it wasn't in a way where I was like, oh, he's a flawed character. It was a way in like, I don't know, it almost felt like a bit of a self-insert where he was like, oh, I'm the cool one who picks stuff up really quickly and I'm really good at all of this. And it just annoyed me, like I was already sort of turned off to it when I started reading the female characters and was like, and especially like the male character, the protagonist is a male character, like his thought process about the female characters, I don't know, the whole book just gave me an ick vibe. The concept and like the story was alright, but like written by someone else would be great. Biggest surprise? There isn't many books that I'm that surprised about this year, to be honest. I'm just looking through, I have my spreadsheet open, I'm just looking through the spreadsheet and most of them are kind of what I expected. This isn't really a surprise either. I guess maybe I'll give it to A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough. I really enjoyed it. I was expecting it to be quite depressing. And the first half was a little bit doom and gloom, but the second part was not at all. It was uplifting and it was very hopeful. And I guess I was surprised on the tone of that. I wasn't surprised that I enjoyed it, but I was expecting it to be very heavy, and it was definitely heavy in places, like it's a heavy topic that he's talking about. But overall I would say it had like a hopeful tone to it. New favourite author? I don't know if I read any new authors this year. I suppose David Attenborough. Yeah, I'll give it to David Attenborough. I haven't read a David Attenborough book before. I don't really want to say it's a new author because obviously I know who David Attenborough is. But I haven't read a book by him before, so yeah, I'll give it to David Attenborough. I really enjoyed the book. I listened to it and it was really nice having him narrate it because we all know he has an A-star voice. So yeah, not the most new, but I guess a new author to me. Underrated gem. Again, none of these books are underrated. Maybe Written in Bone by Sue Black, but that isn't a particularly underrated book. I tend to not read that many indie books, to be honest. That is a book by Sue Black, who is I think she's a forensic anthropologist, is that title? But she works with skeletons in crime scenes and other situations. And Written in Bone is basically a book that takes you from the top of your body down to your toes, top of your skull to the bottom of your feet. And basically says like what you can learn about human life from each of these things and how your life affects your skeleton when you die. Rereads. I don't have any rereads this year. You could maybe half count The Last Olympian as a reread. I'm pretty sure I read a bunch of Percy Jackson books when I was a kid. I don't remember which ones I read. I would read the book on the Kindle and then at the end it would be like, you might like this. And then I just buy it. I didn't know what order I read them in because I didn't know if that gave me the right order. And I didn't really know when I was a kid like how to look up the right order. So I have no idea if I read The Last Olympian or not. I have zero memory of the contents of the book. I just remember the basic concept of the fact that I read them. Number 12, a book that made me cry. I don't think I've ever cried at a book. None of these books made me cry this year. I doubt they will. I don't know why. They just don't get to me. The most beautiful book I've bought so far this year. I haven't really bought many books. It'd probably be The Toll. I bought The Toll this year. I'll put a picture of the cover here. I wouldn't necessarily go to say beautiful. I don't think beautiful's the right adjective I've used to this, but like creative and like really good cover. It is an A-star creative cover. And this is like a piece of art that I would like hang on my wall. I just realised I've gone the wrong order in the questions. Apologies. I'm sure you don't mind. But a book that made me happy. I would just say that books that I enjoy made me happy. So I'd like to mention some books that I enjoyed this year that I haven't mentioned yet. Last Chance to See by Douglas Adams. Bit of a depressing book, but also kind of uplifting as well. Will My Cat Eat My Eyebrows by Caitlin Doughty. Love Caitlin Doughty. All of her books are fantastic. The Penelope Ad by Margaret Atwood. Excellent book. Again, not the most happy of books, but it made me happy in the sense that I really enjoyed it. Alice Isn't Dead definitely didn't make me happy. Creeped me out to my core in some scenes, but enjoyed it, so it made me happy in that sense. So we're up to the last question, and that is, what are your goals for the rest of the year? I can pretty much chill out on my goals for the rest of the year because I'm pretty there on my reading goals, on my like number of books read goals. I've also kind of chilled out on it recently. I've kind of I used to go really hardcore on it, but now I'm more like, if it gets done, it gets done. I haven't been reading as much since I started uni, and now I've finished my degree and I'm, moving on to other things. Still at uni. I don't really know what sort of reading level I'm going to be at, like how much time I'm going to have, how much energy and like brain space I'm going to have. So I'm just being easy on myself, I'll try and read, I try and read every day, so I guess that will be my goal, but if I don't, it's fine. Keep reading the audiobooks, keep listening to the audiobooks, because I really enjoy them and I can listen to them in a couple days. And yeah, just to enjoy reading for the rest of the year. So that is everything. I hope you enjoyed me going through all of these questions. I will leave the questions down in the description if I remember to write them, so that you can answer the questions down in the comments. I'll be very interested to see where you are with your reading this year. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. New videos every Wednesday, and like, subscribe and all that jazz. I will see you next week. Bye.